Hey, welcome to the Automation Guild, where we all get together to help each other create test automation awesomeness. I'm your host, Joe, from Colantonio.com, TestTalks.com, and Guild Conferences, a blog, podcast, and online platform dedicated to helping you succeed with creating test automation awesomeness. And today we're going to be going over what I am calling the 7 innovations that I think are going to move test automation forward in the future. That's going to impact our jobs, and it's going to help hopefully make test automation better. But before we get into that, I have some news around the web that I want to share that's automated related that I think is really important that I came across this week that I'd like to share about. So the first thing, I don't know how many people here actually use Eggplant. It's one of those tools that actually help you with tough automation when you're trying to do, it's pretty much like image-based comparisons or image testing. So if you can't really interact with your application using Selenium or UFT, or the controls are like an old application like C# or C++, something that you can't really spy on or interact with, I've seen a lot of companies actually use Eggplant to help them with those particular test automation scenarios. So what I thought was interesting is they just announced, I think it was either today or a few days ago, that they're going to be supporting API testing. And I'm kind of surprised that they don't already support API testing. This is something I always recommend when I speak to anyone starting with test automation or that's new to test automation. Before you invest any time creating a really bloated UI test, dealing with Selenium, I would start at the lower levels first. So make sure you have unit tests to do your coverage. And once you have unit tests in place, then look for integration tests or leverage your API tests using either a web service or REST testing to do a bulk of your automation for you, a bulk of your testing. And then only then, once you have all those covered, then do a few UI tests. But I would not invest all my time on UI tests. They tend to be unreliable, hard to maintain, take a long time to run. Yes, you need to run them, but I seem to go off on this rant all the time, but I think you all know what I'm talking about. So I think this is pretty cool that TestPlant, if you're using Eggplant, then one of the announcements they just came out with is that they will be supporting API testing. I haven't used it yet, so I assume that you'll be able to do a workflow where you're using UI-based testing and API testing, but it's interesting to see how that's going to go moving forward. I have used other tools like UFT, who has a API plugin, and I've done end-to-end workflows using that particular tool set, and I just assume that Eggplant will be the same thing. But really cool seeing that companies are investing in API testing. I thought that more companies would be investing in this by now. I thought this was actually the future a few years ago, that there would be hardly any UI testing. Everyone would be doing API testing, but I still see a lot of companies not investing at all in API testing and just going for the, sexy UI, watching the browser move type automation. So that's my mini rant and mini news for the first news item, and that's Eggplant is implementing now or introducing a feature that allows API testing. Pretty cool. Another news item I came across is Testim. I think we covered this previously, but they actually had a seed round of funding, about $5.6 million. The reason why I'm bringing this up is I like to follow the money. Wherever investors are investing money in, that's usually what's going to be coming down the pike. We've talked about AI testing on previous episodes, but it really is something that seems to be gaining momentum, and that companies are actually getting funding now. They're getting money to invest in this type of technology. So if you have money, research going in these type of technologies, I only see them really growing over the years. So it's something that we need to keep a pulse on to make sure we're staying on board on what's going on. So congratulations to Testim on this round of investment. And it's just something that I think is going to be growing, and that more and more companies are going to be investing in AI. There's all kinds of news releases I've been seeing recently where AI is the buzzword, and this is just proof that it's actually something that not only is it a buzzword, but investors are actually investing in it, and if that's the case, it's most likely a technology that may be taken off and that we need to keep on board. So not sure how other people feel about it, but if you're with me live on YouTube, just let me know what your thoughts are on that. And here's something I actually had an interview with
those kind of things a machine can do much better than
founder
humans.
of Testim.
They can take up enormous
it's a 2-minute
amount of
clip
data information
where he just talks about AI automation,
out of that
how it can help us.
And have results which are much better, much accurate than a human. For example, the record playback, which had a drawback of now being a bad locators that keeps on failing after, I don't know, even a day. You record something, you play it back, or after a day, it breaks, and then you have to record it again. What if you record using record playback, and it would provide you with better locators than you would if you have coded that? And of course, the nice part is, what if it's keep on updating it as your application change? If your application keeps on changing, wait a second, right now I need to update the locators. What if I had something that would do that for me? What if I had someone that not just do it for me, actually learn and understand, okay, this ID keeps changing, so it's a random generated ID, so let's give it a lower scoring. Or if there's some text which are actually very unique and it's not being changed, then give it a high scoring. The problem from human is one, we're biased, and one is that our current solutions are mostly based on one selector, one path, one way of actually finding an element. And I think that machine learning is already doing a great job in actually helping that and making that the maintenance durable. Instead of updating, if you use, for example, record playback, instead of doing that again, like updating every day, whenever the UI is changing, if you had someone doing that for you, that would be awesome. So I think that's one big part that I see that we're already doing right now, that we're seeing the maintenance being done automatically. And I think that there's going to be a second wave in the next few months, I don't know, a year, which is not just about the automatic maintenance done by machines, but about the autonomous authoring. Right now, we have to think of what are the best things that we need to find and check, right? We need to make sure, do we want to test that or do we want to test something else? And we have to author that test and implement it. I think that in the future, I don't want you to get me like, okay, it's going to be out in, I think it's going to take 2 weeks or 2 years. But I think that the future holds a great opportunity to have those tests or parts of that being offered automatically. And the value I see in that, it's not just about the reduction of time you spend on authoring the test. I think it's going to help you a lot in understanding which parts of your application should be tested.
All right, so there's just a quick clip from Oren, who is one of the founders of Testim. I interviewed him a few weeks back on Test Talks, and I just thought that was interesting. I'm not sure if you picked that up. He was using the word authoring, and I'm not sure if you heard that, but he's saying that he sees the next wave of automation being that it's actually going to author your test automation for you, so you don't have to bumble around looking for an element and say, oh, look, this XPath changed, let me use CSS. And even though he says he thinks that's going to happen, he's a founder of a test tool that is invested in AI that just got funding, a round of seeding for that. Makes me think it's a little more than what he thinks. I think it's something that's probably in the works. So just interesting to see where that goes in the future about actually having AI author automation for us to find quality gaps that we may not have been able to find on our own. Just interesting development. We'll see what happens. Like I said, I've actually tried a few of these tools so far, and to me, I'm not blown away or impressed by them yet, but I think we're going to get there. So AI, yes, it's a buzzword, but a lot of people have been contacting me saying, how can I get informed on what I should learn about AI to help my career going forward? So MIT actually has just released a brand new course on AI implementations for business strategies. It's a self-paced online course. It does cost money. It's like $2,600, but it's all online. I just thought it's interesting that even MIT, all these, once education, everyone seems to be really pushing AI. So I think it's really more than a buzzword, and that if your company is going to invest in you, maybe here's a course that you can check out. Seems a little more high level, so you can find out, going forward, if you're part of the strategic part of planning for your team, if you're an automation architect, this is probably something that might help you be able to plan down the road, your roadmap for automation, where you see yourself going 1 year, 2 years, 5 years down the road. I always think planning is very important, and that this may be a great resource for you. There's a bit link down below that you can click on. It'll take you there directly. If you're like me and you're cheap and you're not going to ever pay for anything like that, there's actually a course on artificial intelligence by MIT OpenCourseWare, which is completely free. It's a little bit older, but all the concepts would be the same. But this is more technical. This is actually lectures of a course for their AI MIT course. really hardcore stuff, and it's all free, all online. So if you're more technical, you want to get into the guts of it and actually understand the theory and how the theory is implemented, here's another great resource for you that is actually 100% free, that is AI based. So that takes me to the meat of this particular episode of what I'm calling the 7 innovative AI test automation tools for the future, the third wave. So I just want to walk through an article I wrote recently on this. Just go over a few things on, some of the tools I think are really moving forward with implementing AI strategies. So like I said, what I'm calling the first wave is a lot of us in the chat right now started off with tools like Windrunner or QTP, and those were awesome. Silk Test, and that's what I'm calling the first wave from my perspective. Of course, if someone older probably has seen this for a lot longer, but it all started for me what I'm calling the first wave with those particular vendor tools, which I think add a lot of value because they've been around for a while. They've seen a lot of things, but of course, I think Selenium really represented the second wave. We saw a lot of deficiencies with the vendor tools. Selenium filled the gap by making it more of a developer process where we can actually integrate with developer tools, developer technologies, and actually do a really treating test automation like it really is, which is software development. So that is what I'm calling the second wave, right? So I think a lot of us right now are on the second wave where you have products, and we talk about this all the time. But I thought was really interesting is Google recently had an announcement for, I forgot what conference it was, but that the new CEO of Google actually said the statement that they see themselves moving forward from a mobile first to an AI first world. And so I've given some breadcrumbs along the way until we got to here from the beginning of the show where started off, we're talking about AI. Is it a buzzword? We see companies investing in other companies that have AI-based tools. And then not only do we see that, but we will also see education, schools like MIT, Harvard, having free courseware on AI. And now we have one of the biggest companies in the world coming out saying not only does he see AI as the new thing, but it's actually going to push mobile out of the way, and it's going to be really the main focus. So to me, that sends a signal that this is definitely something we need to stay on top of. I just thought that was a really cool, interesting comment. And so that takes us what I'm calling the third wave. And so a lot of these companies have been around for a little bit now, and this is just a sampling. I'm not saying this is all the companies out there that handle AI or what's going to be what I call the new way of doing automation. But they're just a sampling of ones that I thought were interesting that I think give a little hint towards what we'll probably see in the future because they've already done something in the past or they're coming out with a new solution to actually implement newer AI machine learning technology. The first one is Applitools. I don't know how many people have used Applitools before, but it's a visual-based test automation tool. So if you used QTP before in the past or Selenium, those are regression test tools. They were made to drive the web browser as if a user was clicking on an element or driving the navigation of your application through a browser. But visual validation is different. It's actually validating your application from a user's point of view, actually checking images to make sure it appears exactly how it should appear to a real user. So it's different than regression testing. And when I first heard of this, I thought this is total BS. There's no way this technology is going to work. I've heard this before. Image-based comparison testing is all bunk. This was a few years ago. And then I got to speak with Adam Carmi, who is the founder of Applitools. He gave me a demo. I actually introduced this to my company. We actually use it in our day-to-day testing now. And it just opened my eyes to say, wait a minute, there might be something to this AI type-based testing. So they have a really sophisticated algorithm that's able to do this image comparison. And I was on another demo that they were giving to my company. And they talked about how they showed their roadmap, and on their roadmap they had a bunch of different things and what they're working on, what they see, things that they're going to be using going forward, or they may be doing. I don't work for Applitools. I'm not committing that this is what Applitools is doing. I'm just thinking there's some possibilities of things that they're doing that's going to be AI based. And here's a few things that they were looking at. Leveraging their existing machine learning algorithm to build on top of it, really to help group changes together. So when you go to the UI, just to help really arrange things differently, the pages. Also modifying their comparison algorithm to really take it in a different direction to get more meaningful, noticeable results. And they also talked about changing the algorithm or making changes to be able to really know the difference between a bug and a desired changes and priority differences. So just basically improving on what they already have, right? So they're going to be investing more in AI. So that's what I'm considering one of the first companies I saw and what I'm calling the third wave of test automation. The next one, once again, is an existing company, but they are the official sponsors of Test Talks, and I love SauceLabs. I actually was invited to SauceCon last year. I'll be there also this next year. So if you're going there, make sure to say hi. At SauceCon, the founder and CEO, not the founder, the CEO, Charles Ramsey, gave a keynote. And in that keynote, he mentioned how he saw the history of test automation from his point of view and how he thinks the future is going to affect their company, SauceLabs. I actually forgot about this. I wish I had this ready. I have a book that he actually mentioned. Oh, here it is. The Second Machine Age. He really read this book, and he's all on board with the Second Machine Age. If you haven't read this book, this is really a cool book that goes over AI, digital transformations, a digital-driven world, where the future is with machine learning. Really enjoyed this book, and it's actually a book that he brought up and he was reading and he was behind. So anytime a CEO starts talking about these types of books, these types of innovations, it gets me thinking that they probably have something on the back burner that they're working on to implement what they've been reading or what they believe in. So one of those things is, if you know, for years, people have been running their automated tests in SauceLabs. So SauceLabs must have a huge database, right? A huge database of all this information of what works, what doesn't work, what's flaky, what isn't flaky. So all this data where I can really see them implementing some sort of machine learning to really aggregate that information, find out root causes, and probably invest more in AI-based automation. So that's the second company I see as part of the third wave. Tell me what you think. If you're part of joining us now live on YouTube, leave a comment, let me know. But that's the second company that I see as part of the third wave. The third one, like I said, this is just a sampling of what I see so far. It's not a full-blown list of what companies are out there already, but this is just a sample of what companies are going towards. And Testim, as you see, been hearing a lot about them. They're getting a lot of investment in them. Spoke to the owner. He had really passionate about this stuff. So makes me think that he may really be investing more in this. And actually, if you didn't know, Testim actually uses Applitools behind the scenes. And so it's interesting that a lot of these companies are out of Israel. So a lot of startups in Israel, and a lot of them seem to be focused on AI-based automation. So it sounds like a Silicon Valley down in the Middle East. So I'd love to visit them sometime. But he actually worked for Applitools at one time. They use Applitools behind the scenes. So once again, that's why I showed Applitools as the one company that really, I think, started this off, in my eyes, the third wave. Testim leverages a lot of that, and they have their own type of algorithms working. So we'll see where it goes, but that's one of the companies I see as moving towards it. And Oren's goal really is to make it automation as simple as possible, that where he sees help desk having issues, being able to create automated tests and be able to run them. To me, when I hear that, I think, no way, it's never going to work. But, I'm just an old guy, and I'm kind of grumpy and say, back in my day, it would never work. But hey, maybe it will. And it seems very promising. And I just think it's going to eventually, it has to be the way that's going to be taken over. So Testim is one of those tools that are currently available that are leveraging AI that you should check out if you haven't already. Another company that I see as part of the third wave is Sealights. It's another fairly new company. Also, I think they're out of Israel. Yeah, they are. And they really focus in on dashboarding. And not only dashboarding, but really sophisticated dashboarding that's able to notice and find changes in your application. So say you had a new build, right? Someone checked in new code into, say, GitHub, or we use Perforce. It's able to analyze that build and say, wait a minute, you have your test coverage this much of that build, but it looks like you have a lack of test coverage in this build. It automatically knows that, there's an area that lacks coverage. So it's able to bubble up what they call quality holes that you may not be aware of. So this drives me nuts. And when you get a new build, and the reasoning behind running your automation is just run all your automated tests, just run them. Okay, but if something fails, how do I know it traces back to this change? It doesn't matter, just run all your tests. It's very time consuming. It's very hard to get a lot of noise, what I call noise. So if you have these tests that started failing because they're flaky, and it's not really because of the check-in, you don't know, because how do you know? Because there's no mapping, there's no metrics to let you know that this was checked in, so therefore these tests cover that. This type of solution would help you with that particular issue. So I think this is pretty game-changing. And I think they're actually going to be doing a lot more machine learning, AI type technology to be able to say, all right, here's the tests that have been checked in. Here's your quality gaps. Here are some tests that maybe aren't as strong as they should be. Just really cool technology. Once again, out of Israel, you should definitely check out. I also talked to the founder of Sealights, and you can check that out at Test Talks. So if you go to this blog post, just click on the Test Talks icon here, and you can hear the full interview with Aaron. Also, you can find the full interview with a lot of these folks that I covered in this episode. The next one is really new. I signed up for the beta. I haven't got it yet, and I don't even know if the beta is available now. When I go to Test.AI, I don't see that available. They have a demo there. Test.AI is by Jason Arbin. You may be familiar with Jason Arbin. He joined us. We covered this last week, but he also joined us in the Automation Guild 2017. He is the founder of AppDiff and also the co-author of How Google Tests Software. This is one of his new tools called Test.AI, where he uses bots to actually scan your mobile applications, create automated tests for you. Really cool stuff. If you ever talk to Jason, he's one of those people that could probably talk all day about automation. Really smart guy. Not only is he a smart guy, but he's a founder of a lot of different tools and technologies. So when he says something, I take it as something that's really important and that's something I should pay attention to. And so here's a cool new tool. It's going to have available to you a BDD-like syntax that makes it really easy to create these tests. And it will execute your test, drive your test, all your apps, and be able to find, using AI technology, or what he's calling bot technology, to do the automation for you. So really cool stuff there. I've been trying to interview Jason. I've interviewed him twice, and both times he's had really bad Wi-Fi and it's crashed. So I don't have a full Test Talk interview with him yet, but it's in the works. So you'll be hearing from him soon on a episode directly related to Test.AI. But I've been having really bad luck connecting with him. But you definitely want to check that out. That's available now. Well, the website's available now, and you can check out the demo. So Greg agrees. He thinks that Jason is really hip on test automation. So cool. I agree. The other tool I've been hearing a lot of, more so recently, I don't know why all of a sudden, but Mabl. This is actually a tool that is available now. Not only does it handle apps or applications, it also handles websites. So I just downloaded it yesterday and started messing around with it. So I really haven't tried it out, but they have like 3 things that they say Mabl is going to help with. The first one is going to eliminate flaky tests, because once again, it gets rid of all the issues of having to worry about weights. What weight mechanism should you use? How much weights? Where do you put the weight? What do you wait for? Or, is this the next path? All that stuff it takes for you automatically. It can also detect any changes to elements, so helps you with maintenance. That when you run a test, that if it doesn't find the element it expects, it's smart enough to know that it's able to find the element that you want. Supposedly, like I said, I haven't really tried it. Also helps you with continuous testing. It's able to give you a history and quickly detect changes in your application with their regression tests, which sounds like a pretty big win. And also helps identify problems quickly, and so it'll alert you. Just downloaded it, been messing with it. Don't have a license, but it seems very promising. Another piece of technology that I think you should check out if you haven't already. Another one that I added just because every time I talk about AI testing in the comments, I always get someone from ReTest saying, hey, what about ReTest? So I didn't want them to feel left out. I haven't tried ReTest yet, but it seems along the same exact lines as the other technologies with like Mabl, and uses AI-based technology. I think they actually started with a research project that was looking at AI technology, and then they morphed it into an actual tool. So there's a lot of, it's not just, someone just using a buzzword. These are people that are not only academic, but they've decided to make a tool out of it, it seems. Uses artificial intelligence. Haven't tried it yet, but just another offering. I've been seeing more and more of them out there, and I just think that we are about to enter the third wave, that we're the pioneers because you're on this episode now. A lot of you that I've seen in the chat are also folks that are hip to test automation, so you've probably seen this already. But the people that aren't, I think this is something that you need to keep on your radar. For me, I'm always worried that I'm going to be let go. I'm going to be laid off. Or because I'm getting older, that I'm going to just say, no, this is a tool I use. I always use UFT. I always use WinRAR. I always use Selenium. You always need to be researching, not just do it to build up your resume, but just to make sure that you're learning newer technology. You make sure you're making decisions in your current role that, hey, they may not know about a newer technology that will help them build software quality better, faster, in a more reliable way. And it's up to you to educate your teams. Here's one way to do it. Always keep yourself up to date. And I think AI is something in 2018 that everyone should be at least on their radar and researching a little bit more about. So is it hype? I don't think it is hype. I know it sounds hypey. I've tried a few of the tools so far, and I'm not necessarily blown away by it, but I really think that it's going to gain momentum, that this really is the future, and that we should all be on board, and I'm really excited by it. So if this is something you found interesting, I would say, going back to the slides here, before you jump on board is my book recommendation of the week here. This is Computers Limited, What They Really Can't Do. So far we talked about AI, all this magic stuff, what they can do. But you know what? There's actually things that cannot be computed, not computable. And it is based on computer science. I don't know if you've ever done any sort of algorithm analysis, but Big O, N, NP. This is an awesome introduction to this, and it's for the layperson, so you don't need to really know any mathematics. This guy breaks down what computers can do and what they cannot do, more importantly. There's actually problems out there that cannot be solved. Let me say how he puts it. I think he puts it really cool. We shall discuss problems that cannot be solved by any computer, past, present, or future, even if it's given unlimited amounts of time and resources, even if it's endowed with unlimited storage space or other resources it might need. So I think AI falls into that. So people that think that, everything's going to be automatable, everything can be outsourced, or everything can be made into an algorithm, I would definitely disagree. And this is one book in layman's terms that I highly recommend you check out. That's my book recommendation of the week. It is Computers Limited, What They Really Can't Do. And also as a bonus, you should definitely check out The Second Machine Age. Like I said, a lot of companies are reading this book, and if they're reading it, I think we should be reading it. It's a really good read, really fun. So those are my 2 picks for the week. If you've read them already, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you found any of this information valuable, or you think it'll help you in the future, a lot of these companies are actually going to be joining us at the Automation Guild in 2018. So if you want to accelerate your test automation efforts in 2018, by learning a tip, tool, technique, or best practice that's going to help improve your test automation efforts, either new or even old projects, then you definitely need to join us. Head on over to automationguild.com, register today, and join 20 plus test automation experts. I'm going to share, like I said, a tip, tool, or technique that's going to help accelerate your test automation efforts in 2018. And also, we're going to have a lot of those folks. We have Applitools joining us. We have SauceLabs, and we have Testim. And we're going to have roundtables, and it's going to be awesome. So if you haven't joined Automation Guild yet, make sure to register now. And actually, a lot of folks here in the comments have been to Automation Guild, and they're valuable guild members. They're founding guild members. I think everyone here is a founding guild member. So these guys really know their stuff now. So what I really loved about Automation Guild last year was not only did we have expert speakers, but pretty much a lot of the folks that joined were experts in their own rights. And we have Greg Pascal, we have Andrew Krug, Lazy Coder, we have James. All these folks are full-time test automation engineers. They've written books, they've done training. So you get access to all this awesome automation awesomeness. So head on over to automationguild.com, check that out. That's it for this episode of the Automation Guild. Hope you found it helpful. If you found it helpful, why not like us? Like the button down below. Follow us on YouTube, so anytime we go live, you'll get a alert saying that we're live. And even better, head on over to automationguild.com. Register now for Automation Guild 2018. Like I said, like us below. Give us some love. That's it for this episode of the Automation Guild show. As always, test everything. Keep the good. See you next time. Cheers.